Phantasmagoria, the second audio drama released by Big Finish in 4 parts on cassette and CD on the 4th of October 1999. Well, I've listened to The Sirens of Time, I've listened to Whispers of Terror. Might as well fill in the blank between those spots, that being Phantasmagoria. The TARDIS lands in London in the year 1702 during the reign of Queen Anne. A queen who, I'll admit, compared to some of the other monarchs, I'd known very little about. Well, looked up a little bit, and I think I've got a good idea of her. But anyway, the Fifth Doctor, played by Peter Davison, and his companion, Vizsla Turlough, played by Mark Strickson, they venture out just to have a little look around, with the Doctor even trying to kind of explain cricket to Turlough using the 1928 Wisden Cricketer's Almanac, which does actually prove to be a plot point later. But they can't rest on their laurels in 1702 as, well, one, there's a dangerous highwayman on the loose, Major Billy Lovemore, voiced by Jez Fielder, and the other is that people are mysteriously going missing around London, usually young men, and they end up meeting up with an antiquarian named Dr. Samuel Hollywell, voiced by Stephen Wickham. And he kind of helps them to understand what's going on, and they see that it's all based around the mysterious Diablo Club, a gentleman's establishment where men mostly meet up, drink, play cards and the like. But the people who are going missing all seem to have played a game of patience with Sir Nicholas Valentine, voiced by David Royale, voiced by the late David Royale. Anyone he seems to play cards with seemingly disappears within a couple of days. And as Hollywell helps them to find out, they're also aided by Hollywell's maid, Hannah Fry, voiced by Julia Dolkin, and are also assisted by several other members of the Diablo Club, including Henry Gaunt, voiced by Nicholas Briggs, Quincy Flowers, voiced by David Walliams, who would later come into Doctor Who as Gibbis in The God Complex in 2011, Edmund Carteret, voiced by Jonathan Rigby, Jasper Jeek, voiced by Mark Gatiss, and Poltrot, voiced also by Jez Fielder. Now this was 1999, and I don't know, I think I've heard that Mark Gatiss did actually write Doctor Who stories before this, but this, in terms of canon Doctor Who, this was his first writing piece, and it's a pretty good one. I don't know if I like it as much as I liked some of the other Fifth Doctor Big Finish stories like Red Dawn or Spare Parts, but I still think this is a really good one, and I think people should listen to it if you get the chance. But I'm about to reveal one big plot point here, so if you don't want to have it ruined, go off, listen to the story, because it turns out there's a bit more to Hannah Fry, the maid, than first appeared. Because it turns out Sir Nicholas Valentine isn't just a normal murderer or isn't just a normal guy, he's also an alien, as is Hannah. They're both from natives of Daedalus. I'm sure I've mispronounced that. Daedalus, something like that. And Valentine, in his kind of form from Daedalus, he was the murderer of Hannah's parents. He kind of did all these horrible things, and then he fled to Earth. And Hannah followed him to the planet in order to try and track him down and bring him to justice. However, working as a maid in the very early 18th century, she found that to be rather restrictive, because, of course, around this time, women still weren't given the same rights as men, and she basically found it very restrictive, so she had to assume 2 personalities and switch between the 2. One was Hannah Fry, the maid for the antiquarian Dr. Samuel Hollywell, and the other was Major Billy Lovemore, the male highwayman. That allowed her to move in around the 18th century London, get what she needed, and ultimately track down Valentine. I do think they do it very well with her. It's not focused on terribly, but yeah. And what Valentine is ultimately trying to do is that everyone he plays cards with he gives them a final card for them to keep. Like, he allows them to win a couple of games, and he gives him a card to keep, and that card then finally has a tracking device or something on it. He can then lure them to his house, and he plans to use their kind of bravery and wit and strength in order to power his ship so he can escape Earth. And it's quite sinister to listen to. And, okay, as I said, I don't know if it's my favourite of the Fifth Doctor Big Finish audio releases, but then, so far with Big Finish and the Fifth Doctor, I've only listened to about 4 stories that actually involved Peter Davison's Doctor. This, Phantasmagoria, Spare Parts, Red Dawn, and Sirens of Time. And while I think Sirens of Time I'd place at the bottom here, I don't know if I like this as much as Spare Parts or Red Dawn. But it is still a really good story, and I would advise you to definitely check it out. It's a good story to listen to. As I say, I don't know that much about the history of the time, but you know what, it's still pretty interesting to listen to. And I do love the Doctor's small jab at the end when they've managed to defeat Valentine, everything's gone back to normal, and Dr. Samuel Hollywell is actually invited to join the Diablo Club. He's been wanting to join it for a while, and he's finally offered a place. And, I'd love to. And the Doctor just says to him, well, I'd advise you to keep to Snap rather than Patience or Whist. Which, I don't know, I just found that funny at the end. So, Phantasmagoria, as I said, I don't know if I'd rate it as highly as some of the other Big Finish stories, but it's definitely a good one to listen to. There you go, that's my quick little thoughts on Phantasmagoria. Will be my next Big Finish story? Well, we'll have to wait and see. Till then, see ya.